All right, here we go. We are live. Oh, we are live. He must hit it before I did. Well, hello out there, everybody. Welcome back to Abnormal Alabama. I'm Kevin, myhauntedDolls.com Kane, and we got my damn Catherine Marie over there.
That is right. Oh, that's us.
And we got Kelsey in the background. He had problems with his sound, but he'll be in here in a minute. So I will go ahead. Let's see if I can find the little thing he ran last week.
How's your week been going
Uh,
so far?
it's been good so far.
Today's what, the first day of March?
Yeah, this is March the 1st.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Let's see.
third third month of the year.
Yeah. Let's see. A game. Is this it? Let's see. Oh, no, that was from last week when we had Daniel on. I thought Kelsey had a commercial for us. Wait a minute. Here we go. Here we go. All righty. There we go.
All right.
There he is.
Full view of the peacock.
Ah, the peacock.
Peacock. Okay. So, what are y'all doing? Just sitting there looking at each other?
I had just showed that little commercial video you made.
Are you
And
doing a haunted doll tonight?
yeah, I didn't. I was hoping we were still
I,
going with that.
what?
I
Is
was
something wrong
hoping
with
we
your
were.
mic now?
No, can't you hear me? If we're going with the zombie voodoo thing, I've got a little voodoo doll here we can try.
Oh, yeah, I didn't
Oh,
know.
oh.
Oh,
Ah.
oh,
And this thing is the real deal. You want me to go ahead and show her? And oh, he's still voodooing out over there. Here, I got her right here. And
oh no, oh no. Do we
this
have to?
little lady,
Must we?
this
By the
little
way, this
lady.
is Abnormal Alabama. Oh, you already introduced us, didn't you?
Yeah, and showed the little
Show the little.
ad.
You didn't
The
show
little
the big,
ad.
just the little.
Big ad. What do you want to call it? The great big ad you made. But this is Voodoo Mama. Oh, we got music accompaniment. That Voodoo Mama, did you know? And look, she has no eyes. No eyes. And she came from Haiti. Was bought by
Don't be hating on people now.
Haiti, the The island of Haiti, the country of Haiti. Haiti. That Haiti.
She's a cute little
And
girl.
she is called Voodoo Mama. She was
Little
made.
fat cheeks. She kind of looks like Catherine.
Except darker skin.
Yeah, I knew Catherine would have paid attention.
She's
Once you
muted.
put that picture up there, she can go away and do whatever. She come back and say, "Hey."
The Voodoo Mama's made of wood, all wood. So not like your traditional cloth voodoo doll. And she's not meant to be evil, even though she
Even though she belongs to Kevin and he is evil.
oh hush. But she let me finish the story on her. She came from a house of a man in Vestavia Hills who was very well off, and he was actually shot and killed in front of his house. And a family member of mine
He's not well off now.
No, he's not well off now. But a family member of mine handled his estate, and she had several dolls, but mainly this one she wanted to get rid of because she thought maybe that cursed him. But that wasn't what caused him to die. He was just hanging around very rotten people. Not all of them, but some of the people he was hanging out with were bad news. So anyway, I've not had any problems with Madame Voodoo Mama. In fact, I feel like there's a delightful spirit there. So I want to see if she'll talk to us. And also, look, Kelsey, I now have car tags on my website. Look at this, myhauntedDolls.com car tag. He ain't paying attention. Oh, and my new book is out, but I'll talk more about that later. We have the REM pod, and I'm going to use the. I'll go ahead and stop the music so we can get the spirit box going here. That way that won't bleed over the spirit box. Otherwise, I like that music. Let's see here. We're going to use what we've been using. I hadn't used it in a little while, so I want to use it for tonight's show. The Necrophonic. And see if Madame Voodoo Mama will talk to us. All right, here we go. Oh, there was a child's voice said, whoops. My name is... Hi. My name is Kevin, and I'm speaking to Voodoo Mama, the doll here in front of me. But I would like to know what your real name is.
Did you hear that?
Did I hear Trumpy?
No, not Donald.
What did you hear? Say your name for me again so I can understand it. I heard the same thing, but I can't make out. Did you come from Haiti? I have here next to your doll this device that looks like a skull. If you touch that metal thing sticking out, it'll light it up and make some beeping noises. Can you touch that for me? Is there a spirit with this doll? I'm still hearing that same, sounds like Trumpy or something like that. How old are you, if I may ask? Is there more than one spirit with this doll? How many spirits are with this doll? Why does your doll have no eyes? The man who owned you, his name was Max. He owned your doll. What happened to him? Did someone hurt Max? Who hurt Max? Is Max here with your doll? I've heard that dolls like yours were meant to be protective. Is that true?
Actually, the Haitian voodoo dolls have no eyes.
Ah, so that's interesting. Yeah, I think I did look that up back when I got this doll. I remember that. Are you a human spirit? I heard some moaning there. Who's doing that moaning?
Must be having sex on the other side.
Oh, God. Our friend Kelsey, who's in my headphones, has a dirty mind over there.
I washed my mind out.
Well, what would you like to tell us, Voodoo Mama? I really love your doll. It's really neat. Is that real hair on the doll's head? Yeah. Whose hair is it? Is it your hair? No. Are you here to protect people? Yeah. Well, that's good to know. I appreciate that. How do you like your home here? Are you happy here? Well, I would still love for you to touch this device next to your doll, that metal rod sticking up there. Please touch that and light it up. I thought I heard a whispered voice say, bitch. They've been known to cuss on these things.
You're cursing? What'd you say?
No, there was a little whispered female voice said, bitch.
Said what?
Bitch.
Bitch? You said bitch?
Yeah. Yeah, on the Spirit app it said bitch.
You're still over there saying bitch? What?
You heard what I said.
I can't hear you.
BITCH. Spirit, I bet you like to have fun, don't you? Is there anything you'd like to tell us? Here's a question, since you came from Haiti. Are zombies real? Do zombies really exist? I got a little bit quiet there. Is that something you don't like to talk about? Yeah, okay. That was loud and clear. Was there any message you have for us before we close out? Please do tell us anything you'd like to. Well, I appreciate you being here and being protective. All right, well, it's been about 20 minutes, so we'll go ahead and bring this to an end. So if there are any spirits that don't belong here, be sure to back away. I'm going to count down from the count of 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Goodbye. And let me show again. Look.
That's why you're not getting good results. You got all that crap.
Oh, I got results. Look, here's the car tag. Look at that. myhauntedolls.com. Oh, he ain't looking. And then
God,
there's
why would I look at that?
oh, I thought you'd think that was cool. And then I got the new book. Look, there it is. The new book is here. Dark Awakening and Other Tales for a Midnight Hour. And these are available at myhauntedolls.com. I also just put out, not only can you buy car tags like this, but you can buy coffee mugs with this logo on it. And those are on my shop now at myhauntedolls.com.
God,
So,
we've ruined Kevin.
no, you hadn't.
He's,
Isn't
he's
that
trying to
beautiful?
be the he's trying to be the Donald Trump of haunted dolls.
This it's really beautiful. It's just
No,
exquisite.
nobody does haunted dolls like I do.
Nobody does it. It's just perfect.
Nobody does. Nobody
Yeah,
does.
and you're fired.
I have
So
more haunted dolls than anybody has.
this is going on the front of my car tomorrow.
I've got my car is known as the haunted doll car.
It goes right on the front of my car. It looks really beautiful. Just so beautiful.
The haunted doll towers. I'll rent you a little piece of plot of land you can put a sleeping bag on and sleep in the woods.
Kevin,
Yes.
are you and Kelsey gonna take off the tags that I put on the front of y'all's cars?
You
Have
didn't
y'all
put one on
have
my
y'all
car.
have
I
y'all
don't have
not
one
even?
on mine either.
Yes, y'all do. Y'all just
I
haven't
don't
even
have any.
noticed it.
Hey, I don't
There's
have a
nothing.
tag on my
It's
car.
my face.
Your
Your face.
face.
Hmm
I don't
Your
have it.
face.
There's nothing on front of my car. It's just a blank tag holder.
I'm saying, but no. But what I'm saying is, you need my face on the front of your car.
Needs your face, but
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Get out all
oh,
the
okay.
tickets.
and I have the hats on my
So,
website too.
are we going to talk about zombies, or
Yeah, I just
I'm going to get off here and let you do haunted dolls? You just
no, we can talk about zombies. Look, where's my go up here? Look at these great fellas here I've got. Look at that guy. He's just beautiful.
that looks like my granddad.
And this one, he looks like he got Botox.
That's cousin
And
Bob.
got some great guys creeping
Oh,
up.
that's the rest of my family.
They do kind of favor him.
God.
Look, there's some.
Let
Speaking of which,
Kevin. This
I
Kevin,
got
when
to
he was
tell you,
younger, got a full beard.
Kevin, I've got to tell
Huh?
you a story.
Uh-oh.
Oh, she gonna make up some shit now.
No, I'm not. I can't take this man anywhere. Okay,
You
so
can't take what?
I'm doing a DJ job Saturday, right?
Uh-oh.
It's for
What are
a
you doing? Oh, we're going. That's not this Saturday.
no. I did it last Saturday. I'm telling the story now. Let me tell it.
I can't hear you. Did you say something?
Anyway, so I'm DJing this event, which is for this animal rescue. Okay,
Yeah,
and Kelsey's with me, right?
yeah.
And Kelsey has his kilt on, and the event it happens to be a womanless beauty pageant.
Yeah, I saw the picture.
Look at what place he won.
Yeah,
I,
second place. Yeah, there. Yeah, I
Hmm
hey,
saw the picture.
listen to this. 67 years old. I've never been in a beauty contest before, and I come in second place. Now, next time you got to come, and maybe you'll get third place.
Maybe I'll get third place. Well,
Yeah,
maybe.
but you have to put on a show. They want to see a show.
But we
Well,
have
we
no.
have
Uh,
raising funds for a no kill pet adoption place. Yeah.
oh, there you
So we were
go.
doing our good deed.
Well, that's a good deed. There you go.
Good deed, but I did
He
get a
was
ribbon for
good.
being second place, and I got a T-shirt, and she got a T-shirt, and I tried to give them some money, and they gave me the money back plus some more money. And they wouldn't take it, and they gave me a bag that had gave her a little kitty cat keychain
Kit Kat.
and 3 little chocolates and some face mask. I don't know what that was about, but anyway, it was fun,
Yeah.
and we helped them raise some money.
Well,
Yep,
that's always a good thing.
they
That's a
did
good
really good.
thing.
It's a
But
good thing.
So
but I
we're
thought
talking
it was
about
funny.
zombies tonight. Did you get any pictures of?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that all the pictures you got of zombies?
I got a bunch of look at this creepy bug-eyed one right here.
Okay, at least he
Yeah.
got a good-looking chick. He didn't pick an ugly
Yeah.
one.
Got the guys from Spain there.
Espanol. So I assume we've got quite a few stories. I could not find
Yeah.
any legitimate good stories out of the state of Alabama for zombies. I think the reason for that is because in Alabama there's about 5 million
Yeah.
zombies.
5 million
Which
of us.
that's the entire population. So,
I,
but I tell you what, what's freaky about this state is all the murders that take place here all the time anymore. I don't know if you pay attention, but I mean they got murders out the yin yang. So I don't know. The streets may be covered with zombies. I don't know.
yeah, they just might be. I've seen some that could pass off down there at nighttime in downtown Birmingham when I used to do those tours.
So in Zombie
Uh,
Land, The Walking Dead, there's even a Walking Dead story in the Bible.
yeah, there he
Yeah, about the time
is.
of the
Don't
crucifix. So anyway, go ahead and tell your story. I don't have any stories. I'm
Oh,
storyless tonight. It's all on you to tell these stories, but I'll interject with some snide remark.
of course, with some snide remark. And it's so good and healthy that you admit you do that. Let's see, I'm just finishing sharing this to all my all my creepy groups, not groupie creeps.
Yeah, Kevin's groupies.
And then I'm going to tell a little bit. I did find, it cracked me up. CBS 42 a couple of years ago did post a thing about would Alabama be able to, would Alabama survive a zombie apocalypse? And I want to
Yeah, I
share
shared
that a
that
little
with
bit.
you. I
Yeah,
shared,
I thought that was the
I
same
shared
one.
that with you. Where do you
Yeah,
think that came from? If it
well,
was
I saw it today. I
Kevin,
thought that was yours. Hey, come on now.
if it wasn't for me, you'd be nothing.
Hey, yeah.
You'd
Oh,
be
this was the guy
absolutely
just said,
nothing.
I don't have any stories, so I'm gonna let you do
That
it.
because I trained you so well.
Oh, Trey. I was self-ass taught. Oh, I mean,
Yeah, well, that was the problem. You
all
trained
right.
your if your ass needed to be trained, need to be potty trained.
Well, I was going to tell a little about I like this little article here the History Channel shared a few Halloweens ago talking up
So I
zombies
want to
here.
know would Alabama survive the zombie apocalypse?
Well, let me share that one first then. Let's see
Yeah,
here. Here we go. How likely would people survive in Alabama? Here it is. This was shared by CBS 42. If you want to
that about
survive.
as legitimate a news source as you could find in Alabama.
If you want to survive a zombie apocalypse, the Midwest might be your best bet, according to a recent list. CableTV.com recently identified the best and worst states for surviving a zombie apocalypse. Their rankings looked at population density, the number of farms per capita, and each state's solar electricity percentage. According to the website, people trying to survive against flesh eating zombies would have the best chances in states like North Dakota and Nebraska, locations where there are fewer people and more farms. North Dakota ranked number 1, followed by Nebraska and South Dakota, respectively. More farmlands with fewer people may help you falling under whatever zombie-inducing disease is floating around, said CableTV.com blog. Plus, farming up your own food instead of relying on trading and hunting or scavenging may help you survive longer. However, the East Coast, where we are, with its denser population and low percentage of solar panel electricity, ranked the worst. New Jersey was at the bottom of the list, number 50, followed by Connecticut 49 and Maryland 48. And guess where Alabama fell on that? It fell at where'd it go here? Number 30.
We're
So we're
screwed.
sort of we're on the lower part of that list, but at least we're
Well, the
up
problem
above
with
50.
Alabama is we're too busy killing each other than to pay
Yeah.
attention to problems.
Eastern states are a lot more densely populated. They don't have nearly as much farmland, and the bottom 10 averages only 4% in solar panel electricity, which you won't be able to enjoy if you're getting bombarded by bloodthirsty bodies anyway, the blog stated.
The blog.
Virginia, where AMC zombie series The Walking Dead World Beyond was being filmed, is at the lower end of the list, ranking 34.
Excuse me.
And just get past it. Okay. Need to know how to prepare for a zombie apocalypse? Well, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention have you covered. The CDC says the first thing to do is to prepare an emergency kit packed with things such as water, food, and other supplies to get you through the first couple of days before you can locate a zombie-free refugee camp. Or, in the event of a natural disaster, an emergency kit will buy you some time until you are able to make your way to an evacuation shelter or until utility lines are restored. Some items you should include in your list are water, non-perishable food items, medications, including your prescriptions, as long as those will hold out, tools and supplies, sanitation and hygiene, clothing and bedding, important documents like your driver's license, passport, and birth certificate, to name a few, and of course, first aid supplies. Although you are a goner, if a zombie bites you, you can use these supplies to treat basic cuts and lacerations that you might get during a tornado or a hurricane. And that was it. So I guess what they're saying here, showing where Alabama is, our chances of survival in a zombie apocalypse are a lot lower than most of the countries.
A lot more.
We have less than half a chance here. We're at number 30.
Well, that figures because we are half-assed.
So if these guys here show up at your door, I guess you're just screwed.
So that'd be about the way they show up at Walmart.
Yeah, there's you some Walmart people there.
3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, no shirt, shorts.
Y'all got any orange soda pop? So why don't we start out? Have you looked up the history of the zombie?
Yeah, that was the first one I had up here, was the history of the zombie.
Tell us.
The zombie.
The history of the zombie.
All right. The zombie, often portrayed as an undead, flesh-eating, decaying corpse like these guys here, has enjoyed a popularity surge in recent years. Whether they're devouring their prey in The Walking Dead or getting their groove on in Michael Jackson's Thriller, zombies dominate pop culture. But are zombies real? Unlike many other monsters, which are mostly a product of superstition, religion, and fear, zombies have a basis in fact, and several verified cases of zombie have been reported from Haitian voodoo culture. Zombie traits. A zombie, according to pop culture and folklore, is usually either a reawakened corpse with a ravenous appetite, or someone bitten by another zombie infected with a zombie virus. Zombies are usually portrayed as strong but robotic beings with rotting flesh. Their only mission is to feed, and they typically don't have conversations, although some may grunt a little. Now, here we go with the origin of zombies. Believe it or not, the ancient Greeks, not Haiti, but the ancient Greeks may have been the first civilization terrorized by a fear of the undead. Archaeologists have unearthed many ancient graves which contain skeletons pinned down by rocks and other heavy objects, assumedly to prevent the dead bodies from reanimating. Ooh. Zombie folklore has been around for centuries in Haiti. possibly originating in the 17th century when West African slaves were brought into work on Haiti's sugarcane plantations. Brutal conditions left the slaves longing for freedom. According to some reports, the life, or rather afterlife, of a zombie represented the horrific plight of slavery. Voodoo is a religion based in West Africa and practiced throughout Haiti and the Caribbean, Brazil, the American South, such as Louisiana, Mississippi, and then other places as well with an African heritage. Many people who follow the voodoo religion today believe zombies are myths, but some believe zombies are people revived by a voodoo practitioner known as a bokar. Bokars have a tradition of using herbs, shells, fish, animal parts, bones, and other objects to create concoctions, including zombie powders, which contain tetrodotoxin, a deadly neurotoxin found in pufferfish and some other marine species. Used carefully at sublethal doses, the tetrodotoxin combination may cause zombie-like symptoms such as a difficulty walking, mental confusion, and respiratory problems. High doses of tetrodotoxin, I think I'm mispronouncing that, tetrodotoxin, can lead to a paralysis and even a coma. This could be someone to appear dead and be buried alive, then later revived. Though it's rare, there are several credible reports in medical journals of people using these compounds to induce paralysis in people, then revive them from the grave. In 1997, an article in the British medical journal called The Lancet described 3 verifiable accounts of zombies. In one case, a Haitian woman who appeared to be dead was buried in a family tomb, only to reappear 3 years later. An investigation revealed that her tomb was filled with stones, and her parents agreed to admit her to a local hospital. In another well-documented case, which I'm going to share a little bit lengthier story on that, but a Haitian man named Clairvius Narcissa entered a local hospital with severe respiratory problems in 1962. After he slipped into a coma, Narcissa was declared dead and was buried shortly thereafter. But 18 years later, a man walked up to Angelina Narcissa in a village marketplace, insisting she was his sister. Doctors, townspeople, and family members all identified him as Clairvius Narcissa, who claimed he had been buried alive, then dug up and put to work on a distant sugar plantation. According to the Undead 18th Century by Linda Troost, zombies appeared in literature as far back as 1697 and were described as spirits or ghosts, not cannibalistic fiends. They arrived on the film scene around the same time as their monster peers Frankenstein and Dracula, with the 1932 release of White Zombie. But it was not until 1968 that zombies acquired a cult following of their own with the release of Night of the Living Dead, that famous classic by George Romero. Over the next 15 years, Romero directed 2 more zombie films, Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead. As special effects technology improved, with each film, the zombies appeared more gruesome and realistic. From the 1980s on, dozens of zombie films were made. Even Scooby-Doo battled zombies in the 1998 film Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. And the 2013 release of World War Z, starring Brad Pitt, brought zombie culture to a disturbing new level. Not surprisingly, television jumped on the zombie bandwagon with shows like iZombie and Helix, but no zombies ever terrified more television viewers than on The Walking Dead on AMC. Each show features a post-apocalyptic zombie feeding frenzy that leaves fans horrified yet unable to look away. Here's something Kelsey brought up. Here's the question: are zombies in the Bible? The modern-day carnivorous zombie isn't in the Bible, but there are many references to bodies being reanimated or resurrected, which may have inspired zombie myths throughout history. The book of Ezekiel describes a vision where Ezekiel is dropped in a boneyard and prophesies to the bones. The bones start to shake and become covered with muscle and flesh until they're reanimated, yet there was no breath in them. And the book of Isaiah states, the dead men shall live, together with my dead body shall they rise. Awake and sing, ye that dwell in dust, for thy dew is as the dew of herbs, and the earth shall cast out the dead. Moreover, passages abound in both the Old Testament and New Testament about the resurrection of saints and sinners in the end of times. This may be one reason so many zombie stories are associated with an apocalypse. So why does the modern world have such a love affair with zombies? History may be to blame, according to Stanford literary scholar Angela Becerra Vidergar. Vidergar tells Stanford News she believes mankind's perception of violence took a drastic turn after the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II. She feels such large-scale disasters cause people to fictionalize their deaths on a mass scale and focus on survival of the fittest, a common theme among zombie narratives. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention agrees. They took advantage of zombie mania and created a zombie preparedness website to motivate people to prepare for disasters and offer tips on how to survive a zombie apocalypse and other catastrophes. The site was a big hit. Whether you're a fan of zombies or the thought of running into one causes you to sleep with one eye open, they are part of modern pop culture, although the zombie myth has a basis in fact. Today's zombies have taken on a life of their own. And that is the history of zombies.
Very interesting.
And I got a story about the real life alleged zombie, if you'd like to hear that one now. Let me get his picture up here, but I want to get a good one.
He's got a story.
I got a story.
He's a story.
Let me get the full one up here. I'm going to put a picture up here.
Because he can tell a story.
Now, when you think, now, cookies.
Cookies, what?
You know, it always asks, do you want to accept cookies? And I say, yes, I never get my cookies. Where's my Chips Ahoy?
Oh.
Of course I accept cookies, but where are they?
The Cookie Monster.
I used to love Soft Batch. I loved those cookies when I was a kid. That's why I'm so fat. Soft Batch and molasses cookies. Sort of down here.
Sort of?
I think my computer's having a gas attack.
Yeah,
here we go. Here it goes.
Kind of hesitated for a second there.
Here we go. I'm uploading his picture. Now, you think of a real-life zombie, you're thinking of this old dead body with skin rotting.
Wait.
No.
There's no such thing as that. They're not alive. So it'd be a real dead zombie, not a real life zombie.
A real dead zombie. Excuse me, Mr. Grimmer. Okay. Okay, Graham Cracker. Here we go.
Where are you going?
All right, here he is. See,
Who
he
is
doesn't
that?
look like a rotting zombie. That is Clairvis Narcissa from Haiti.
Them Haitians. Why? Them
Yeah.
Haitians? What's up with them Haitis?
Those Haitis. Zombies have long been a part of Haitian folklore and traditionally have been believed to be deceased people who are revived by a bokor or a sorcerer. The zombie is said to be under the control of the bokor and can be used at the bokor's will.
God.
This aspect of Haitian folklore is thought to be of West African origin, and today is widely associated with Haitian voodoo practices. One of the most famous cases in history of an alleged real-life zombie is that of Clairvius Narcissa, a Haitian man born in 1922. In 1962, at the age of 40, he was admitted to the Schweitzer Hospital, which was operated by American medical staff. Clairvius's symptoms included a severe fever, fatigue, and coughing up blood. Clairvius was pronounced dead shortly afterwards by 2 American doctors, held in cold storage for a day, and subsequently buried. Subsequently. Nearly 20 years later, in 1980, a man claiming to be Clairvius Narcissa reappeared in the city of Leicester, and he confirmed his identity to his sister, Angelina Narcissa, and other villagers by using a childhood nickname and sharing intimate information about their family that only a family member would know.
Only?
Only.
Only?
According to Clairvius...
Did you say only?
Only.
Wow. I can't believe that.
According to Clairvius, he had been paralyzed by a voodoo priest to make him appear dead and had been conscious but immobile during his burial.
Only.
The bokor priest had then exhumed him, drugged him, enslaved him, and forced him to work on a sugar plantation.
Only.
He alleged that he had been made to consume a paste which effectively rendered him unable to think for himself and caused memory loss.
Sounds
He
like
said-
Tanner.
He said he was forced to work on the plantation alongside other workers who had been drugged. When the voodoo priest died and the regular medicating ceased, Clairvius escaped, eventually returning home to his family. The villagers believed his story, and thus he was considered to be a living zombie. There are even photographs of Clairvius sitting on top of his own tombstone, from which he had allegedly been exhumed decades prior. In the years following, several doctors and scientists investigated the case. It was particularly perplexing that Clairvius's death had been verified by 2 American doctors when they examined him at the time, so multiple testimonies confirmed that he had indeed died. Over the years, a number of theories have been circulated, including that Clairvius was administered with a combination of subduing substances, including a component of pufferfish venom. Pufferfish, yeah. Clairvius died for real in 1994 at the age of 72, and this time he did stay in the grave. Wow, this music is some kind of background. It's like all happy while we're talking dead people walking around.
Are they absolutely awesome?
Now, have you heard of the movie as well as the book, The Serpent and the Rainbow?
No, I heard of the Rainbow and the Serpent.
The Serpent and the Rainbow. Wes Craven made a movie out of it, but it's tied to...
Wes did a few of them.
Yeah. This movie and book were tied to the story of the Clairvius Narcissa, the man I just talked about.
How would you tie a book?
Well, let me tell about it here. According to the book,
Tie it together.
The book. Okay. The book was published by anthropologist and researcher Wade Davis in 1985. He investigated Haitian voodoo and the process of making zombies. He studied ethnobotanical poisons, discovering their use in a reported case of a contemporary zombie, Clairvius narcissa. According to the book, the assortment of ingredients in Haitian zombie powder include pufferfish, which also matter from a corpse, specifically to Davis's adventure in Haiti. The Boker, Haitian shaman, crushed the skull of a deceased infant that had been dead for a month or two and added it to the poison. Also, they added freshly killed blue lizards, a large dried toad with a dried sea worm wrapped around it, and itching pea, whatever that is.
Itching pea?
Yeah, PEA, like the vegetable.
That's crazy.
The book inspired the 1988 horror film by the same name, The Serpent and the Rainbow. Davis's claims were criticized by a number of scientific inaccuracies. Some scientists found little or no tetrodotoxin in samples provided by Davis when he returned. Davis argued that a number of factors may account for the negative results of some investigators and decried their unsubstantial accusations of fraud, noting the variability of formulations, possible errors in the testing performed on the samples he brought back, the possibility that the tetrodotoxin-based mixture may have had ingredients that improved blood-brain barrier transmission. Woo, we're getting scientific here. And the nature of folk medicine with respect to success rates. In the book, Davis does not suggest that the zombie powder containing tetrodotoxin was used for maintaining mental slaves, but for producing the initial death and resurrection that convinced the victims and those who knew them that they had become zombies. The zombies, such as Clairvius narcissa, were kept biddable by regular doses of the poisonous plant Datura stramonium, which produces amnesia, delirium, and suggestibility. So, that's The Serpent and the Rainbow. That was a pretty good movie. The movie took a horror turn. They show Wade, the scientist, being captured by the voodoo priest and they attempt to turn him into a zombie themselves. But in real life, that didn't happen.
You sure?
Well, he didn't. Nothing that he ever said. We got somebody to block here, trying to put their crap on the chat. There we go. So, I read an old zombie folklore story from Haiti that falls in line with all this, and this supposedly took place in the early 1800s. And it was about this wealthy plantation owner in Haiti. And he could not keep workers, at least not good workers, or at least they became scarce. So, you know what he did? He went out to the local cemetery under the cover of night and dug up corpses that were freshly buried. Then, people are still trying to chat crap. Then... he brought those corpses back to his plantation where he had a voodoo priest. There's another one. Who are these people? Where they had a voodoo priest wake the dead, so to speak, with certain potions like what I described in that article.
Right.
Well, he immediately put those zombies to work in his fields, and nobody from the towns ever came on his plantation. They were scared of him because he was a powerful man. So they didn't know about the zombies. And he would treat them like people. He would feed them biscuits for food. He would properly punish them if they got out of line, but mainly because they were zombified, they really didn't do anything but go through their motions like robots, so little to no punishment. So he had it made. But the voodoo priest told him, "Sir, you must never feed them salt, for salt will counteract with the potion and wake them up. So he may. I hear echo. What is that?
You hear an echo?
Yeah, yeah. So
I was trying to see which they're coming on my page this time.
he made sure never to feed salt or let any salt anywhere near his zombie workers. And he had informed his wife, but unfortunately his wife had a short memory. For one day, the farmer, plantation owner, took a small trip on business into the towns to sell some products and left his wife in charge. She decided to feed the zombies and decided to make up her special biscuits, which included, guess what? Salt. She had forgotten the warning not to feed them salt. So she fed the zombies and they woke up. But they did not attack her. Instead, they looked around at each other and screamed in panic. And they stumbled back toward the cemetery where they knew their bodies should be resting. They got to the cemetery in the dark of the night and started clawing at their graves that the plantation owner had filled in after he had dug them up. And they clawed and clawed, their fingers falling apart. And finally the sun came up, and before the poor zombies could rebury themselves, their bodies had suddenly turned to dust because without the potion working anymore, their bodies were no longer preserved. So they fell into decay, and the townspeople found them like that, and they stormed the plantation and arrested the owner and his wife, and both were hung.
Well, I just
And that
happened
is
to have
the
a
story.
short video of what these poor woman did to the zombies.
Oh.
I mean, I caught this is a story right out of Alabama.
Hey, I'm started. I started it. Okay. 2, 1. Here we go.
I mean, the poor zombie.
Yeah, that poor rubber zombie. Let me tell you, he was full of air too. Oh, air-headed zombie.
No wonder he couldn't bury himself.
I about talked myself hoarse here.
You have to do all the talking, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
You got to do all the talking.
Let's see. What other stories did I have here? Zombie stuff here. Did I have something else here?
I woke
already
up this
talked.
morning.
Huh?
I said I woke up this morning.
Oh, there's a zombie topical story there.
Yes, I look like a zombie every morning I wake up.
Oh, okay. I guess I do too.
Hey, you look like a zombie now.
I do. Ooh.
Well, here's an article from last year, from March the 7th of 2021. And I've got to share this.
Oh.
If zombies were to start roaming the streets, yes, we said zombies, the CDC, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, wants you to be prepared. In the midst of providing guidelines on an unprecedented pandemic, the Center for Disease Control updated its tips to prepare for another extreme occurrence, a zombie apocalypse. While the CDC says it began as a tongue-in-cheek campaign, it actually is a practical guide for any emergency like hurricanes, earthquakes, or floods, and of course, zombies. You may laugh now, but when it happens, you'll be happy you read this, the CDC wrote on its website. And hey, maybe you'll even learn a thing or two about how to prepare for any emergency. The CDC says it would conduct an investigation as it would for any disease outbreak and provide assistance to states until it could determine the cause of the outbreak and how it could be treated and stopped. The CDC listed guidelines to follow to be safe than sorry. The first step is to prepare for zombies, or in any disaster, create an emergency kit with essentials to last a few days. Again, this is from the CDC, and the kit should include a gallon of water per day for each person, non-perishable food items, medications, tools, and supplies. sanitation and hygiene products, clothing and bedding, important documents, and first aid supplies. Next, you should create an emergency plan when a zombie is outside your door. This includes identifying the types of zombies in your area. Were they created by a tornado or an earthquake? So prepare for that situation and make a list of emergency contacts, but make sure your contacts are not zombies. You should also pick a place to evacuate to and make an evacuation plan, which should include a designated meeting place for you and those you live with to regroup. After, of course, ascertaining if they are zombies or not. Straight from the CDC, folks, a fair warning about the zombie apocalypse that could come any day. We have just been through a pandemic, and who knows, all those people that died of COVID may be coming out of their graves this year. Beware. You've been forewarned. Make your plans now.
Well, did you know that Nostradamus predicted a zombie apocalypse?
Nostradamus predicted everything. I think
everything.
Nostradamus is God.
I think he predicted Michael Jackson.
I think he predicted haunted dolls.
He did. Ooh. Well, back in 2021 was when it was supposed to happen.
Oh, way back then.
So I guess he was wrong on this one, but it said, as 2021 progressed amid a global pandemic, questions about a possible zombie apocalypse were swarming the internet because, according to Nostradamus, 2021 would have been packed with events that would forever shape the future of humanity. Well, we know the virus did a good bit of that. Nostradamus was born in the 16th century and best known for his book, a collection of prophecies he made. The book was called Les Prophéties. The French physician would express prophecies in verses called quatrains. Quit laughing at me. Many of his predictions later illustrated the rise to power of Adolf Hitler and World War II.
And Donald Trump and World War III.
I think you meant Joe Biden in World War III. Okay. So he predicted.
No, Trump is still president.
He predicted that in 2021, a scientist would create a biological weapon and produce a virus that would turn humankind into zombies. And the quote was, few young people half dead to give a start. Dead through spite.
These young people, they are half dead. He was right.
Yeah. Dead through spite. He will cause the others to shine, and in an exalted place some great evils to occur. Sad concepts will come to harm each one. Temporal dignified, the mass to succeed. Fathers and mothers dead of infinite sorrows. Women in mourning. The pestilent she-monster, the great one to be no more. All the world to end.
Is that the she-monster? Is that her?
Madame Catherine, he called you the she-monster. In case you're listening.
I'm listening, and I'm ignoring.
The rest of the article went into that CDC thing you already covered, so we'll skip that. But of course, we know Nostradamus predicted everybody's farts, I think. So I'm not surprised he predicted zombies.
I predict zombies are coming soon. Okay, so did you guys, speaking of zombies, and I like animals and stuff, did you see that zombie animal that lady rescued? And it was like a hairless zombie animal, and they wound up doing DNA on it, and it escaped, and they found the DNA like 2-3 weeks later, and it was a coyote, but it was a hairless coyote. So it was a zombie coyote. It had no hair. It had I'm assuming
I got no hair. Am I a zombie?
Yeah.
He's a zombie.
You are a zombie. Crazy.
I'm the sleeping dead.
Well, I gotta tell you, some of my favorite horror movies are zombie movies. And oh, there was one other picture I was gonna bring up
Well,
here.
that brings about a good question though about zombie. There's a whole slew of zombie dogs out there.
Zombie dogs.
Yes.
They still go arf arf.
Look at him.
What
Look at
is
the
that?
zombie
Oh,
dog.
oh, Lord, look at that.
They got a bunch.
You know,
Ah,
don't forget the three of us went to see a bunch of zombies one day.
One day at a
one
time.
day.
You don't remember going to see Walking Dead?
Yeah, the Walking Dead. We went to the where they filmed it.
Yeah, we went and saw those zombies there.
Yeah.
So a zombie dog is a term referring to a domesticated canines infected with a T virus through its secondary method, namely the ingestion of infected food or organisms. There is such a thing as a zombie dog.
Hmm.
Zombie dog. Let's look at that thing again. Ooh, look at that. Arr.
Just as dogs preceded humans in making the first risky voyages into space, a new generation of canines has now made an equally path-breaking trip from life to death and back again.
Isn't that kind of like the Cujo? And that,
Cujo. Well, he had
In a
rabies though.
series of experiments, doctors at the SAFAR Center for Resuscitation Research at the University of Pittsburgh managed to plunge several dogs into a state of total clinical death before bringing them back to the land of the living. The feat, the researchers say, points the way toward a time when human beings will make a similar trip, not as a matter of ghoulish curiosity, but as a means of preserving life in the face of otherwise fatal injuries. The method for making the trip is simple. The SAFAR Center team took the dogs, swiftly flushed their bodies of blood, and replaced it with a relatively cool saline solution, approximately 45 to 50 degrees, laced with oxygen and glucose. The dogs quickly went into cardiac arrest and with no demonstrable heartbeat or brain activity clinically died. There, the dogs remained in what Patrick Kochanek, the director of the SAFAR Center, and his colleagues prefer to call a state of suspended animation. After 3 hours, the team reversed their steps, withdrawing the saline solution, reintroducing the blood, and thereby warming the dogs back to life. In a flourish worthy of Mary Shelley, they jump started their patients' hearts with a gentle electric shock. While a small minority of the dogs suffered permanent damage, most did not, awakening in full command of their faculties. Of course, the experiments were conducted not to titillate fans of horror films, but to save lives. Imagine a stabbing victim brought to the emergency room, his aorta ruptured, or a soldier mortally wounded, his organs ripped apart by shrapnel. Ordinarily, doctors cannot save such patients. They lose blood far more quickly than it can be replaced. Moreover, the underlying trauma requires hours of painstaking repair. But imagine doctors buying time with the help of an infusion of an ice cold solution, then parking their patients at death's door while they repair and then revive them. Such a day may soon be at hand. Assuming the financing materializes, the SAFAR Center will coordinate human trials in the next 2 years using patients who, like Kevin Kane,
Nay. Of course I am.
has nothing to lose by risking his life on such a risky business. But as the dogs of the SAFAR Center can attest, far better to buy a round trip than a one-way ticket when visiting the land of the dead. So are you willing to take a trip to Zombieland?
I
There was actually a
agree.
group back in the 70s and 60s called the Zombies. Do you remember them?
Yes, I do remember them.
Okay, so we're back to Kevin and his stories of zombies. I just try to introduce
Yeah.
maybe a little something in there so that he don't have to wear his mask. Is he clearing his throat?
Well,
Did he bring you anything to drink to your desk there?
yes, I've got it right here in my Michael Myers cup right there.
Well, there's old Michael.
So,
Well, let's see,
Michael
what do I have
Myers.
right here? But Jason, the ink pen man.
Yeah, I need to get me one of those.
I got it at Books a
Yeah.
Trillion.
Books a trillion. Books a million.
Sorry, guys,
Uh,
I'm kind of quiet tonight.
yeah.
That little cough started, and
Uh,
yeah,
So we're gonna turn
I,
it back over to Kevin.
yeah, I was going to talk about some of my favorite zombie movies here.
Oh, we got zombie movies. Let's
Now,
do it.
back in the days before George Romero, you go back to the 40s and 30s, they had zombie movies, believe it or not, but they weren't creepy flesh-eating zombies. You had movies like I Walk with a Zombie here, and this zombie looks like he's got Botox. But you have I Walked with a Zombie about a nurse who goes to Haiti to try to help some, if I remember the story correctly, try to help some people who are ill and comes across some voodoo practices and zombies who are walking around. But she finds out that these aren't so scary after all. And then you have Revenge of the Zombies in the 40s, where they took the story I shared earlier in the show about 20 minutes ago about the plantation owner and the zombie workers. In this case, they threw a little sci fi in it. You got this doctor here in Haiti who brings back the recently dead to use them as his slaves. But somehow the chemical he uses wears off and the zombies turn on him. Hence the Revenge of the Zombies. I don't think I've seen this movie, but I've heard of it. And that's the wonderful John Carradine playing the doctor there in the smock who's being attacked, menaced by the zombies. But those are your 40s zombies. So, they weren't exactly grotesque. They just looked like people with no shirts on, mainly men with no shirts on and blue jeans stumbling around. But in the 60s, we finally got some gruesome voodoo zombies, like this Hammer film with The Plague of the Zombies. That was pretty good. That was yet again another take on the voodoo legend, except this is a British movie. But this practitioner is bringing out zombies from the grave to do his evil bidding. And for some reason, they all look bug eyed and like somebody smeared white sugar all over their face. What do they call it? Powdered sugar all over their faces. So finally, 1968 is when George Romero gave us the first flesh eating ghouls, Night of the Living Dead. And that is a classic. In fact, I watched this, rewatched it again for the probably 100th time in my lifetime. This past Saturday evening, we watched the anniversary edition that came out. It was the 30th anniversary, I think, that came out back in 1998. And it's still out there on YouTube, and it has extended scenes in it that were made for this movie. So that's pretty interesting. But you've got the zombies, and what I like about it is they never clearly explain how or why these zombies are reanimated. They just they're flesh-eating ghouls that suddenly started rising, and they're all freshly dead. So you don't have any of those rotting skeletons bursting out of the ground. It's just only the freshly deceased and their hunger for flesh, human flesh. I think if I remember, there was a hint in the movie that it was a rocket ship to Venus exploded and came back to Earth, and that may have caused it. But it's never really clearly given. This movie, and what's so unique about it is it's not just the zombies that are scary; it's the people too. These people are fighting each other, hiding in this farmhouse. Some of them willing to kill the others just to get their way, and it's humanity is terrifying without having flesh eating zombies stumbling around outside. So that was scary for more than one reason there. But one little known zombie film that took off, or how do you say it? It ripped off Night of the Living Dead, but I thought it was pretty good. Was Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. This is one of my favorites, but it takes a while to get to the zombie action, but it's pretty damn good when it does. This came out in 1972, if I'm not mistaken, by Benjamin Clark, who would later become Bob Clark, the director of no other than A Christmas Story, the 80s holiday classic that they still play in a marathon on Christmas Eve every year. Yep, that's him. And he also did Porky's and a bunch of other movies. But he started out in horror, and his first was a ripoff of George Romero's Night of the Living Dead. But it's about, even though it's called Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, and there's one of the gruesome zombies there, there's not children here. It's rather college age, young adult actors, a troupe of actors who, and it never really clearly says, but I think it's off the coast of Florida somewhere, maybe in Miami, because Bob Clark back then shot a lot in Florida where he lived. But it's a fictional burial island just off the coast there, just as like a 20-minute ride on a boat from the coast to the island. And the director of the troupe wants to go out there and have a party. And what they don't know is he's bringing along a book of spells and decides he plays a few pranks on them with some of his buddies dressed up as dead people. But he brings out his spell book and actually attempts an incantation to bring out the dead. And it is a incantation where you ask the devil to raise the dead for you. Nothing happens at first, so they go to the caretaker's cottage, which is abandoned, and decide to party. Meanwhile, in the cemetery, took a little while, but the dead start rising, and they are pissed off, and they are hungry. And that last, 20, 30 minutes of these zombies, it's terrifying. It goes from being a silly, kind of laughable movie to it shocks the out of you. So I recommend it. It's a good movie. But there were other movies back in the 70s. Even Spain caught on to it. I have this little picture here of the Blind Dead, Tombs of the Blind Dead. And there are 4 of these movies. There were 3 sequels to it. And this evolves around the Knights Templar, which was a real group of monks that allegedly, some of them caused rape and plunder in some of the villages in Europe. But this took off on that. It gives a fictional account of a group of Knights Templar who raped and drank the blood of virgins. And when the townspeople found out, and this is back in 17th century or something like that, townspeople found out, they go out to the monastery, they round up these Templars, they tie them up, they burn out their eyes symbolically to keep them from ever finding their way back to the land of the living, and then set them on fire to burn the rest of their bodies alive. Well, 100 years or 200 years later, when this movie was made, 1970s, it's taken place then. The Knights Templar return from the dead, and even without their eyes, they can track you down by the sound of your heartbeat, and no one is safe. And it's a pretty freaky movie. I mean, it's not the best zombie movie I've seen, but it was enjoyable. But of course, George Romero decided to rip his own self off by making some follow-up films to Night of the Living Dead. And this first one, Dawn of the Dead, in the late 1970s, started that trend. He did Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead. I think in the early 2000s, he did Land of the Dead. But none of them, in my opinion, compared to the original Night of the Living Dead. There's even a remake of Dawn of the Dead, which I don't like because they've got the zombies running like a bunch of marathon freaks. And that's just not the way zombies traditionally do. They stagger about. Their power is that they're in such a big army that they can catch you even if they're staggering. They can surround you and you are toast. But this one takes place in a mall in Philadelphia where some survivors are hiding out and the zombies are outside prowling. And right behind this came one of my favorites. Lucio Fulci in Italy decided to add a unauthorized entry to Romero's movies called Zombie. And this is a clip from that movie. And this goes back to the old Haiti, the old Caribbean folklore of voodoo practices. And this takes place the year it came out, 1979. This young lady, her father goes to an island in the Caribbean, not Haiti, but a different uncharted island called Matul, if I remember. And it's fictional, but it's called Matul. Her father went there a few months before, and he never came back. And his boat was found in the harbor in Manhattan. It floated from the Caribbean all the way up to New York, and was found in the Caribbean abandoned except for a zombie on board, which promptly attacked the police. They shoot it down, not knowing what it is, and the girl decides to go out and look for her dad at this island and find out what the hell happened. Where is he? She finds out the island is just chock full of these gruesome guys here eating flesh, and they were brought back to life by a combination of an experiment gone wrong by scientists living there and voodoo practices. So, it's very gruesome. We're talking, when they say flesh ripping zombies, they're not kidding. You see, this is grosser. This is more gross than any of the Ramiro movies that I've ever seen. I like the zombie guy from the original, what's that? Tales from the Crypt, which was it was a series of short stories combined into one movie, and one of them involved this zombie who returns for revenge. So I really like that one. And let's see if there's another. I might have covered them all. Let's see. Yep.
I got one for you.
Okay.
I don't think you've covered this, but I wrote the book called Dating the Dead. You remember this book?
But of course.
Have you seen the movie Dating a Zombie?
No. I did see a movie called I Was a Teenage Zombie. I forgot about that one.
No. It's 2012. That's when it came out. Called Dating a Zombie. And Clarence operates a zombie termination service in Zombie Town. Believing true love can never be found, he feels no remorse when he dates zombies. To him, zombies never complain, don't nag or talk back, and are extremely happy with the way you are. Of course, Clarence's biggest love interest is Princess Betty, the owner of a pet cemetery now accepting humans at discount prices. In between his romances, Clarence finds time to hunt and eliminate nuisance zombies called A-listers. This is a hobby he thoroughly enjoys because he gets to chop the zombie bodies up in his kitchen and sell the meat as a sideline. Action and humor keep coming as Clarence and his assistants, Doofus, chase and pop zombies while riding around in their golf cart. You just can't have too many zombies running around Zombie Town when the government keeps failing to pass a zombie retirement plan.
A retirement plan.
I didn't know that movie was out. I just was kind of searching around, dating a zombie.
Well, that made me think.
Uh-huh.
That made me think of another movie called Warm Bodies that came out a year after that, 2013. And that's more of a comedy, but I got the plot here.
Yeah, this is a comedy too.
Oh yeah, well it sounded like one.
Hold on, I'm going to give you the cover of the movie.
Okay.
Got it loaded up here. Let's get it loaded up. I think this is it here. Excuse me, but there it is.
Okay.
Clarence is dating a zombie. Came out in
Ah,
2012. I don't know where you'd find it. I assume it can be seen somewhere out there. And for those that are interested, there's other things that you might want to look into if you're are really into zombies. Just here's one for you. Just share a few things. Hello, Omar. What the
yes,
heck you
Omar
doing there,
says
brother?
hello. He has joined
Tried to
us.
come in better late than never again.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be dead out here in the in the
But
comment
we
section.
are speaking of the dead
Here
here.
we are speaking of the dead.
So there's a book called The Do's and Don'ts, and it depends undead dating, zombie
Oh.
love. So Omar came just in time to learn about how to date a zombie. And I guess you can get that on Amazon.
Yeah. Yeah, he
So you can find it on Goodreads. I know that.
Yeah. Yeah, you've pretty much and
And
they've been
then
getting them.
there's also 2021, which is last year. I don't know if you covered this or not, Kevin. Hold on. But there is an article here, dating in the zombie apocalypse.
Oh Lord.
So, and it's a short movie. Synopsis: Maria, a reserved cartoonist, quietly existing in the zombie apocalypse with her fat chihuahua, Sylvia, braves the elements every day looking for survivors, supplies, and possibly Miss Right. While walking her dog, Maria meets a rebellious roller derby girl named Rocket, armed with an axe and her faithful dog, Sugar. Rocket and Maria
Sugar.
connect over life, art, and what they miss from the world before the zombie apocalypse.
Well,
So
I
there you
got
go. See, there's all kind of good information about
Yeah.
out here in regards to the zombies. Let me see.
Well, I got that comedy movie from 2013, Warm Bodies. And in this
Warm
one,
bodies.
yeah, about 8 years after a zombie apocalypse, R, a zombie who cannot recall his name but believes it began with the letter R, spends his days wandering around an airport which is now filled with his fellow undead, including his best friend M. R and M achieve rudimentary communication with grunts and moans and occasional near words. As a zombie, R does not have a heartbeat and constantly craves human flesh, especially brains, as he is able to feel alive through experiencing the victim's memories when he eats them. While R and a pack of zombies are hunting for food, they encounter Julie Grigio, a group of her friends with her, who were sent by Julie's father from a walled off human enclave to recover medical supplies. R sees Julie and is drawn to her. His heart beats for the first time. After being shot in the chest by Julie's boyfriend, Perry, R kills him and eats his brain while Julie is distracted. Perry's memories increase R's attractions to Julie. He rescues her from the rest of the pack by wiping some zombie blood on her face, masking her scent, and takes her to an airplane he resides in to keep her safe. Of course, Julie is terrified of R and suspicious of his intentions, but she starts trusting him after he rescues her during a failed escape attempt and finds food for her. R insists that Julie stay with him for a few days until he deems it safe enough for her to leave. The two bond, listening to LP records and playing games to kill time, causing R to begin to come back to life. His heart starts beating and he is slowly able to communicate with more words. And I don't want to tell the rest of it to to give it away, but it's a zombie
Give it away.
romance, but
Give it away.
it's saying that true love brings the zombie back to being a real live person.
True. There's nothing truer than true.
But I've seen the movie. It's a good movie. And it's funny and it's heartwarming and things you wouldn't think you'd find in a zombie movie, but there it is.
Oh my.
Another good one is Zombieland. That's a good comedy with Woody Harrelson
I saw that one.
and I've not seen the sequel. I heard it sucked, but the first one I liked. It was fun. There's another apocalypse movie about survivors finding their way through a zombie torn world.
Hmm.
But of course, a lot of people love The Walking Dead on AMC, and I guess sadly
Is
enough,
that still on?
I was about to say sadly enough, this is their last season, but they have the spin-off shows still going, which I mean, quit spinning it off already. It's
So I don't know if this show's still on or not, but zombie dating show.
I haven't seen it. If it is, I don't
I
know.
was aired. The one I'm looking at was aired October 6, 2019. Lasted for 60 minutes. I'm looking at season 9, episode 2, where 5 teams made up of an expert pumpkin carver, a cake artist, and a sugar master create amazing and tasty Halloween themed displays that mix fear and romance in a depiction of a zombie dating show. A special guest judge is Fear the Walking Dead's Coleman Domingo.
Yes, that's one of the spin-offs shows from The Walking Dead.
I hadn't
Fear
kept
the
up with
Walking
that for
Dead.
years.
Walking Dead World Beyond, and then who God only knows what other
God only knows.
what else they'll come out with. When they start spinning off, I mean, it just gets ridiculous.
Yeah, they really spin it, don't they?
They spin it. Now that was cute back in the day when you had spin-offs like All in the Family spun off Maude, it spun off the Jeffersons, and then from Maude came Good Times. So and
Oh
those were
gosh.
all good shows.
Well, I tell you what, I just keep running across more interesting stuff.
Oh, is it more zombie love?
Oh my goodness.
Is it zombie love?
Oh my goodness. It's
zombie love like that one there.
I guess a lot of people are just really into zombies.
When zombies kiss, how do they keep their lips from falling off and their teeth from
Hey,
falling out?
When they say, "Give me some tongue," or worse than that, it's like, "Hey, baby, give me some head."
Oh, your daddy.
And your partner says, "Whose do you want?"
That one over there looks ripe. I think that over there is too hollow. I don't want that one.
Right. Oh, you got a hollow head. That's sloppy head. So that one right there that you are looking at is a book that has 6,660 ratings, almost 4 stars. A heartwarming tale of terror in the middle of the zombie apocalypse. Meet Sarah and David. Once upon a time, they met and fell in love, but now they're on the verge of divorce and going to couples counseling. On a routine trip to their counselor, they noticed a few odd things: the lack of cars on the highway, the missing security guard, and the fact that their counselor, Dr. Kelly, is ripping out her previous client's throat. Meet the zombies. Now Sarah and David are fighting for survival in the middle of the zombie apocalypse. But just because they're zombies doesn't mean your other problems go away. If the zombies don't eat their brains, they might just kill each other. So there's you another good read. Meet Married with Zombies. Ladies and gentlemen,
the zombies.
I know it's hard to believe, but we're talking about zombies tonight here. At
Oh, it's not that hard to believe.
Don't look so sad.
We got another. I found another one here. I forgot about that. Sort of classic zombie movie I've seen and really liked, and
Oh God.
um,
Hmm.
if I can get the overlay up here, this one this
Get
came
that
I
overlay.
guess from the late '70s,
Get that overlay up.
and it was called Shockwaves, and it features this guy and several other guys that look just like him.
Oh no.
Shockwaves. Despite the influence of Night of the Living Dead, this film took some time to gestate and gain cachet in the cultural consciousness before a huge wave of significant American zombie movies bloomed in the late '70s and especially the '80s. Arriving shortly before Dawn of the Dead exponentially raised the popularity of zombies as horror antagonists, Shockwaves might very well be the first of all Nazi zombie flicks. It's honestly a dreary, slow paced film through most of its run, following a group of lost boaters who end up on a mysterious island where a sunken SS submarine has jettisoned its crew of zombies, a Nazi experiment. Hammer horror icon Peter Cushing appears as a badly miscast and addled looking SS commander, the same year that he was sneering at Princess Leia in Star Wars. Hard to believe. There have been at least 16 Nazi zombie movies since this point, certainly more than one might realize, which makes this one fairly significant, at least for combining the portmanteau of great film villains first. But I personally like the film. It's basically what happens is, like it says, these lost boaters stumble across this island and their boat conks out just as they arrive there. So they go to this abandoned hotel looking for help and find Peter Cushing, an old withered scientist who warns them to leave this island, but they can't. And then outside, from the water, up from the depths, comes the army of Nazi zombies, beyond control now, stalking and eating human flesh.
Human flesh.
So there you go, Shockwaves, Nazi zombies. It was, you know, it's a '70s flick, but still, it was. I thought it was pretty good.
Well, there's a lot of things good out of the 70s.
Yeah, lots of good things out there. Staying alive, staying alive.
Staying alive, staying alive. It's only words, and words are all I have. So it is now, ladies and gentlemen, 8:38 p.m. here in the
8:38.
Central Time Zone. There's a zombie coming out of the ground. We're talking zombies here at Abnormal Alabama with my friend Kevin the Kane. And Kevin Kane, did Cain kill Abel?
Yeah, I believe he did.
Poor Abel. All
Poor
he wanted
Abel.
to do is have a good sacrifice to the Lord.
Poor Abel was able and willing, but
There used to be down in Orlando years ago a Holiday Inn that had a bar in it, and it was called Adams. And their advertisement tagline was "Come to Adams and raise a little cane if you're able." I thought it was cute. I never forgot it. But I never went to Adams. I just saw the sign. So
I saw the sign.
Sign, everywhere sign, blocking up the scenery, breaking my mind. Do this, don't do that. Can't you read the sign? So would you date a zombie?
I don't think so. They're kind of cold.
Well,
they probably stink too.
I don't know. Do they? But you see if zombies have odors. I never. Bigfoot. They talk about Bigfoot's odor. But they never talk about zombie odor. All these nasty, like on Walking the Dead. They never did I hear them say, "Ooh, these zombies stink." I can smell them coming. I never heard that. Did you ever hear them say that?
I never heard that.
That is some. You know what? We got to write a book about the odor of zombies. Nobody else has done that.
Yeah, maybe.
In fact, we'll just call it, "I can smell them coming."
We've certainly talked about it. We've talked about everything from alleged real life zombies to dog zombies to movie zombies,
Yeah.
and even zombie love.
Well, and before we get finished, we got a few more minutes here.
Finito.
So I want to add to this
You want to
a
add
very
to it?
important thing that a lot of people may not be aware of.
My license, my tag, car
Get rid of
tags,
that.
right?
Get
Oh,
rid of
come on. Eh.
it. Is a zombie insurance policy.
A zombie insurance policy.
It also includes a zombie safe sex guide.
Oh, dating and mating in a post-apocalyptic world. All right, Ian Hall and Lorraine James. Is that from personal experience?
It's a new enhanced zombie survival guide teaching you to survive the apocalypse Holocaust as a zombie.
As a zombie.
With little point in making preparations to survive as the gun-toting human, the odds are against you. Written by Ian Hall and Lorraine James, it's funny, sarcastic, and may just save your life. It includes a whole new section called The Zombie Safe Sex Guide, Dating and Mating in a Post-Apocalyptic World. Get your copy today.
Oh, get your copy today.
Get your copy today. We have joined again by Madame.
Madame.
I don't know what happened. I got booted.
It's because she's a zombie. She's a zombie.
Zombie. Shh, don't tell people.
It's a zombie.
She's a zombie.
I'm a zombie.
She's a zombie.
We
Nothing but a zombie.
We are really not with it tonight. So, but if you haven't said, we're talking about the dead, talking to the dead, talking about the dead, talking about the people coming back from the dead. Don't forget to get your copy, and you can go to datingthedead.com and get your copy. Look, even for those that are not very good readers, look, there's pictures. I have pictures in my books, so you can look at this. Even semi pornographic. This woman Bigfoot. Look, she got carried away with Bigfoot.
Got carried away.
She claims to have had sex. She says that his feet are not the only things big about him. Read, so you'll be in the know.
My new book is out now. In fact, I already sold 2 copies of this today.
He's on a roll.
Dark Awakening and Other Tales for a Midnight Hour.
So did I tell you, Kevin, that I was online looking at my books and kind of just seeing how many I'd written and whatnot, and 2 of them popped up on the bestsellers list.
Yes, you told Mr. Bragg. I saw your you shared that with us earlier this week.
Yeah. Shock and awe.
I don't know how many have to sell to do that. I know one of mine, I think 4 or 5 years ago, the first My Haunted collection was I think Amazon bestseller because it sold a bunch one month. Sold a couple of 100 copies, I think, in one month. But
Wow.
I heard it had to be thousands, but I guess not. I think if it was just a good chunk purchase, like a good flow there in a short amount of time, they can do that.
Could be.
And you had 2.
All right, so let's go on. Do we have something happening here?
MyHauntedDolls.com license plate or car tags.
Come on.
And I've got hats and coffee mugs out there too.
Yep. Look at him.
I'm gonna put this on the front of my car.
MyHauntedCar.com.
MyHauntedDolls.com. I already got. Oh, and there's bumper stickers out there. I already got the bumper sticker on there. In fact, I got the bumper sticker right here. There it is.
So what are we going to talk about next week?
Oh, another idea popped up at the same time as zombies. What about stories about stalkers? I'm seeing a lot of stalker videos out there on YouTube and stories, and people just having terrifying encounters with stalkers.
And you know what? We could probably find a lot of interesting ring videos about stalkers.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch. I've been watching those as well. There's a lot of them out there, and it seems like with the increase of media influencers the more you put yourself out there, especially if you're one of these young, gorgeous women that do it, the more crazies you're going to attract, and they might show up in real life following you on a live
I
stream.
know. Since I won the beauty contest, I've got
Wearing his wig and everything.
very, very careful.
You may even get stalked by a zombie.
And I didn't
Ooh.
even have to twerk.
He didn't even have to twerk. Ooh.
All right, so we can do
So
stalkers
what?
next week. We have been
Yeah.
doing this. I think we're right now somewhere real close to getting into our 4th year of doing this show. This is about the time that we did it back in 2019 when we started. And we have been plugging along with this for a long time. We started out in the offices over there in Columbiana. Then we moved over to a Burger King restaurant. And then we decided we were going to do it like this. And we've been doing it like this for a long time now.
And we've been to abnormal places. We've done abnormal things. Look at that. And
Yeah.
we've even sold abnormal things. Look at that.
That's about as that's and yeah, that's abnormal too.
And
And we've
that
had
too.
fun doing it. And you've been to abnormal places there. That fake
Yeah.
doll.
Ah, Annabelle. She might
I didn't
haunt you.
say it's a real doll, but it's a fake story.
Yeah, well, and we talked abnormal stuff like zombie love.
Zombie Land. We've done that zombie love. And, oh boy, people have some imagination in those.
Yeah.
So next week we're talking about stalkers. So if anybody is watching this in its archived version or in its present version or any version you may be watching it, if you've got a story about somebody that stalked you, if you've been stalked, don't be ashamed to share it with us. We'll change your name if we need to.
Can I be the stalker for once?
Ooh,
God,
you scared the crap out of me.
Jesus. Yeah, why don't you turn your microphone volume up? We can't hear you.
I said, I want to be the stalker for once.
Yeah. Lord have mercy.
And
Mercy.
then after that, I can be the next stalker, stalking people until they buy my merchandise. Come on.
You are a stalker. Stalking away.
Buy my merchandise. Come on, then.
Bingo and holla freaking pina.
Bingo and hella freaking pina. We got what, 11 minutes here? What else can we? Is there not another zombie story?
11 minutes, and we can talk about some more Zombie Land zombies. I'm trying to think. Yeah. So let's see. You did that one. And let's see. I got all kinds. Let me close some of this stuff up here. Got too many windows open now. Okay. Let me close that one out. Yeah. All right. What do we got here? What do we have here?
What have you got here?
We have a young female feeding her zombie boyfriend.
What?
Yeah, that's what it says.
What? A young zombie feeding her boyfriend.
For her zombie boyfriend.
Oh, feeding her zombie boyfriend.
That's even
That
more.
sounds kind of like Return of the What was that? Return of the Living Dead. That's another comedy zombie movie.
Return of the Living.
Yeah, I think that's what it was called. Or yeah, that was it. Return of the Living Dead. Oh, look at there. I wonder, are these cosplayers, or is this from a movie? Or
They were some photographer playing. I don't know. Be careful when a zombie comes up and says, "I love you for your brains."
That's what was in that Return of the Living Dead.
Another thing you never want to walk up to a zombie and say, "May I lend you a hand?"
Because they might eat your hand.
That's it.
They might eat it. Just eat it. Man, there was a time.
Yeah,
find enough zombie short stories out there. I find all kinds of other ones, but
Well, there's books, but not any
uh,
short stories, is there?
let's see here.
Stories.
Here's something about some short stories you can find. I don't have them here where I can read them, but here's one. Here's 4 zombie short stories that you simply must read. It says here.
All right, let's
The
must read
first
them.
one. The first one is Alone Together by Robert Kirkman. Timothy was married 4 years before the outbreak of the zombie apocalypse, and his wife died shortly after. Now he's with Alicia. They're the last 2 left from their group. She's not the kind of woman he ever had been attracted to before, but he feels like he's falling in love again. They're close to a grocery store and are going to check it out. Alone Together by one of the co-creators of The Walking Dead can be read in the preview of The Living Dead 2. And then the next story, Rising Generation by Ramsey Campbell. Heather, a teacher, is escorting her young students to a cave under a castle. It was Miss Sharp's idea, and she has seniority, so they've come. Heather knocks on the door of the guide's hut. His appearance is off-putting. She asks him not to say anything about the legend. It's not really suitable for the children. Well, that wasn't enough of a synopsis there. But anyway, the third story, Defenseless, a story of death and decay by R.L. Blalock. Dylan's mother drops him off at his dad's place. He goes to play with his friend Ben, who lives in the same complex. They go into the connected backyards and also explore the trees nearby when they come across a woman who looks like she's been hurt. And it turns out she's been zombified. Biters by Mark Morris is the last one here. A bus is stopped at the gate of the Moorbank Research Facility. A guard checks Mrs. Kepler's pass and then sends them through. Her class is touring the grounds. Mr. Letts, their facilitator, is going to show them around. It's been decades since people started turning into biters. Society has recovered, but scientists still have not found a cure for the R1 virus that created the biters. However, this class group is going to be meeting some of those biters that they're not quite dead yet. I want to see what this Rising Generation by Ramsey Campbell, they cut off the synopsis here. It sounded like it might have been good here. Let me pull it up here. Here's a little synopsis here. No, that's the story. That's going to take too long to read there. All right. I'll try to find a synopsis here. Basically, what it said before, the teacher, Heather, escorting her young kids to a cave under a castle, and they knock on the door of the guide's hut. His appearance is off-putting. She asks him not to say anything about the legend because it's not suitable for children, but when they go to explore the caves under the castle, they do find some creatures inhabiting those zombie-like creatures inhabiting the caves. So that's going to be a good story to check out there. All right, what else have we got here? I wish we had a little time to read that story, but it's kind of long there. Let's see what other zombie stories we have out here. These are all modern.
You can go overtime.
Well, let's see. I mean, it doesn't look like it's too terribly long, but hell, where'd it go? Here we go.
Yeah, so long you can't find
Let
it.
me make sure that this is the whole thing, though, before. Here we go. Oh, this is good. Okay. Yeah, I can read this pretty quick because it kind of starts in the middle of things here. As they approached the cave beneath the castle, some of the children began to play at zombies. hobbling stiffly, arms outstretched. Heather Fry, the teacher, frowned. If they knew the stories about the place, despite her efforts to make sure they didn't, she hoped they would not be frightened or frighten the others. She had not wanted to come at all. It had been Miss Sharp's idea, and she'd been teaching decades longer than Heather, so of course she had her way. The children were still plodding inexorably toward their victims. Then Joanne said, "You're only being like those men in that film last night." Heather smiled with relief. "Keep together and wait for me," she said. She glanced up at the castle, set atop the hill like a crown, snapped and bent and discovered by time. Overhead sailed a pale blue sky, only a wake of thin foamy clouds on the horizon, betraying any moment. Against the sky just below the castle, Heather saw three figures toiling upward. Odd, she thought. The school had been told the castle was forbidden to visitors because of the danger of falling stone, which was why they'd had to make do with the cave. Still, she was glad she had not had to coax her class all the way up there. The three were moving slowly and clumsily, no doubt exhausted by their climb, and even from where Heather stood, their faces looked exceptionally pale. She had to knock several times on the door of the guide's hut before he emerged. Looking in beyond him, Heather wondered what had taken or why he had taken his time. Not tidying the hut, certainly, because the desk looked blitzed, scattered, and overflowing with forms, and even an upset ink bottle, fortunately stoppered. She looked at the guide, and her opinion sank further. Clearly, he did not believe in shaving or cutting his nails, and he was pale enough to have been born in a cave, she thought. Perhaps this one. He didn't even bother to turn to her. He stared at the children lined up at the cave entrance, though by his lack of expression, he might as well have been blind. "I'd rather you didn't say anything about the legend," she said. His stare swiveled to her and held for so long she felt it making a fool of her. "You know what I mean," she said, determined to show him that she did. "The stories about the castle, about how the Baron was supposed to keep zombies in the cave to work for him until someone killed him and walled them up. I know it's only a story, but not for the children, please." When he'd finished staring at her, he walked toward the cave, his hands dangling on his long arms and almost brushing his knees. At least he won't interrupt, she thought. I wonder how much he's paid and for what. There was even a propped up boot poking out from beneath the desk. As she reached the near end of the line of children, he was trudging into the cave. Daylight slipped from his back, and he merged with the enormous darkness. Then the walls closed about him as his torch awakened them. Heather switched on her own torch, or flashlight. They call them torches in Europe. "Stay with your partner," she called, paragraphing with her fingers. "Stay in the light and don't lag." The children, 14 pairs of them, were hurrying after the guide's light. The cave was wide at the entrance, but swiftly narrowed as it curved, and when Heather glanced back a minute later, lips of darkness had closed behind them. As the guide's torch wavered, the corrugations of the wall rippled like the soft gulping flesh of a throat. The children were glancing about uneasily like young wild animals, worried by the dark, sly shifting they glimpsed at the edge of their vision. Heather steadied her beam about them, and the thousands of tons of stone above their heads closed down. Not that it was easy to steady the beam. In the cave, he'd picked up speed considerably, and she and the children had to hurry so as not to be left behind. Maybe he feels at home, she thought angrily. "Will you slow down, please?" she called out to the guide, and heard Debbie at the front of the line say, "Miss Fry says you've got to slow down." The guide's light caught a wide, flat slab of roof that looked as if it were sagging. Scattered earth crunched softly beneath Heather's feet. About now, she was sure they would be heading up and out the other side of the hill. Joanne, who had not let Debbie convince her as a zombie, and Debbie squeezed back to Heather along the contracting passage. I don't like that man, Joanne said. He's dirty. What do you mean? Heather asked, sounding too worried. But Joanne said, he's got earth in his ears. Will you hold on our hands if we're frightened? Debbie asked. Well, I can't hold everyone's hand, can I? She replied. Earth slid from beneath Heather's feet. Odd, she thought. Must come from the guide's ears and beneath his nails, and began to giggle, shaking her head when they asked why. He was still forcing them to hurry, but she was beginning to be glad that at least they would not have to depend on him much longer. If you think of questions, don't ask them yet, she called. Wait until we're outside. I wish we didn't have to come underground, Joanne said. Then you should have said that before, Heather thought. You'll be able to look for things in the field later, she said, and at least you haven't had Miss Sharp hurting you as well as her own class. If they hadn't come on ahead, they would have had to suffer her running their picnic. But why do we have to come down when it's nice? Sharon didn't have to. It'll still be nice this afternoon, Heather replied. Sharon can't go into places that are closed in, just as you don't like high places. So you see, you're lucky today. I don't feel lucky, Joanne said. The ridges of the walls were still swaying gently like the leaves of a submarine plant, and now one reached out and tugged at Heather's sleeve. She flinched away, then saw that it was a splintered plank, several of which were propped against the wall, looking as if they'd been fastened together. Ahead, the cave forked, and the children were following the shrinking rim of light into the left-hand passage, which was low enough that they had to stoop. Go on, you're all right, she told Debbie, who was hesitating. That stupid tour guide, she raged in her mind. It was tighter than she thought. She had to hold one arm straight out in front of her so the light urged the children on, leaving herself surrounded by darkness that coldly pressed her shoulders down when she tried to see ahead. If this passage had been fenced off as she suspected, she was sorry it had been reopened. The children's rigid shadows rippled like caterpillars. Suddenly, Debbie halted. There's someone else in here, she said. Well, Joanne said, it's not your cave. Now all the children had gone quiet, and Heather could hear it too, the footsteps of several people tramping forward from deeper within the cave. Each step was followed by a scattering sound like brief, dry rain. Oh, it's probably men working in the caves, Heather called out, waiting for someone to ask what the dry sound was so that she could say they were carrying earth. Don't ask why, she thought. Something to do with the castle, perhaps, with the men she'd seen on the hill. But the footsteps had stopped. When she straightened up at last, the darkness clenched on her head. She had to steady herself against the wall. Her vertigo gradually steadied and she peered ahead. The children had caught up with the guide, who was silhouetted against a gaping tunnel of bright pale stone. As she started toward him, he pulled something from his pocket and hurled it beyond her. Debbie made to retrieve it. It's all right, Heather said, and ushered the pair of them with her light toward the other children. Then, cursing his rudeness, she turned the beam on what she assumed he'd thrown her to catch. She peered closer, but it was exactly what it seemed, a packed lump of earth. Right, she thought, if I can lose you your job, you're out of work now. She advanced on him. He was standing in the mouth of a side tunnel, staring back at her and pointing his torch deeper into the main passage. The children were hurrying past him into the hard tube of light. She was nearly upon him when he plodded out of the side tunnel, and she saw that the children were heading for a jagged opening at the limit of the beam, surrounded by exploded stones sprinkled with earth. She'd opened her mouth to call them back when his hand gripped her face and crushed her lips, forcing her back into the side tunnel. His cold hand smelled thickly of earth. His arm was so long that her nails flailed inches short of his face. "Where's Miss Fry?" Debbie called out, and he pointed ahead with his torch. Then he pushed Heather further into the cave, though she hacked at his shins. All at once she remembered that the boot beneath the desk had been propped up on its toe. There might have been a leg beyond it. Then the children screamed, one chorus of panic, then silence. Heather's teeth closed in the flesh of his hand, but he continued to shove her back into the cave. She saw her torch gazing up at the roof of the main passage, retreating. His own torch drooped in his hand, and its light drew the walls to leap and struggle, imitating her. Now he was forcing her toward the cave floor. She caught sight of a mound of earth into which he began to press her head, as if for baptism. She fought upward, teeth grinding in his flesh, and saw figures groping past her upturned torch. They were the children. She let herself go limp at once and managed to twist out of the way as he fell, but he kept hold of her until she succeeded in bringing her foot forward and grinding his face beneath her heel like a great pale insect. He still made no vocal sound. Then she fled, staggering to her torch, grabbed it, and ran. The stone wrinkles of the low roof seemed more hindering, as if now she were battling a current. Before she was free of the roof, she heard him crawling in the darkness at her heels like a worm. When the children appeared at the end of her swaying tunnel of light, she gave a wordless cry of relief. She could feel nothing but relief that they were covered with dirt. They'd been playing. They still were just short of the border of daylight, and they seemed persuaded they were still short of the border of daylight, and they'd even persuaded Joanne to be a zombie. "Quickly," Heather gasped, "run to Miss Sharp's class." But they continued playing, turning stiffly toward her, arms groping. Then, as she saw the earth trickling from their mouths and noses, she knew they were not playing at all. And there the story ends. And now we're 7 minutes overtime. So
The grand finale.
yes.
Well, there's the zombies, ladies and gentlemen. Next week, Kevin wants to talk about stalkers.
Stalker.
Doesn't he look like a stalker? Look at him.
I don't look like a stalker.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have to sign off tonight. Until next week.
Good evening,
Everybody,
everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Das Badai.